Hello and welcome to our Year 3 writing workshop here at Dilks Academy. My name is Miss Tyler and I work alongside Mr Morton in Year 3. Throughout this presentation we're going to go through year group expectations, talk for writing, grammar and punctuation expectations, spelling expectations and our handwriting policy and expectations of your child. So this is what we use to assess your child in Year 3. So it's split into 3 different sections. The first section is about the composition. So writing sentences which make sense and correctly punctuated, correctly and consistently using past and present tense, and when they need to, and thinking about when they need to use those 2 different types, using different connectives to show time, for instance, first, next, then, eventually, using prepositions which describe the position that something's in, or the place, or the time. Adding detail for noun phrases, for example, golden coins, and adverbs like glistening and brightly, just to make their writing a little bit more exciting. Children are expected to use speech and exclamation marks where appropriate. For example, we've been using these in our narratives that we've been writing recently, along with newspaper quotes. Stories have beginning, middles and ends, although sometimes their opening might be slightly longer or their ending doesn't finish the story. When they're writing in non-fiction, they can start to use some of those key features, for example, subheadings. Starting to make links between some of their writing and ideas, and starting to group their ideas into paragraphs. That next section is about using different verbs and adjectives. So it's about thinking about the grammar behind it, using terms linked to different text types, making writing interesting for the reader by adding detail or choosing suitable words, composing sentences using a wide range of structures, which we'll go through in a minute, writing narratives with a clear structure and plot line, and using devices and features of non-fiction such as subheadings. In that last section it's about spelling and handwriting, so using strategies to spell unknown words, using prefixes and suffixes, making sure that letters they write are the same size and correctly formed, with space in between each word, recognising and spelling different types of homophone, spelling words correctly from the Year 3 and 4 lists, and identifying root words in longer words. Writing skills. So within this year, we're going to develop and refine ideas used in planning. So there's 4 ways that we can start a story, and we practice each one of these ways. So for example, you might start a story or narrative with setting, with a character description, with dialogue, or my personal favourite one, action. We look at organising writing into paragraphs to distinguish different information, events or processes. Well, why do we do this? Well, we do this to group together similar content and to make smooth links to the next paragraph so we can create cohesion between them. Grammar, punctuation and spelling. So we expect the children to be able to now extend sentences using a range of conjunctions. So not just writing a simple idea, but now thinking about how they can add to that idea. They can use verb tenses correctly in their writing, for example, with newspaper reports, and writing in past tense. Choosing appropriate pronouns to avoid repetition. For instance, instead of writing, for example, in Jack and the Beanstalk, instead of saying Jack, 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 and saying their noun all the time, they might say he instead of doing that. They can use adjectives, adverbs, connectives or conjunctions and varied sentence structure, and to deliberately form simple, compound and complex sentences. So there's some different examples here of different sentence types. So, for example, all around the fairground, the children rush excitedly from ride to ride. Or floating across the air came the sweet smell of burnt candy floss and donuts. Squeals of delight could be heard from miles around. Brightly coloured straws were surrounded by hundreds of people as they milled around like ants. Or my personal favourite at the end was starting with an adverb. Silently, the nervous child stares up into the sky while waiting for the ride that towers above them. We've done a lot of work on Show Me, Don't Tell Me recently, and the children have been thinking about how they can get that element of potentially fear across without saying that their character is scared. We use Talk for Writing to help structure our writing here at Dilks, and that can be split into 3 main parts, and those parts are immerse, innovate and invent. What does that actually mean? So immersing means that children learn a text or type of text in detail so that they can use it to scaffold for their own writing. This could be an example of an oral story, for example, Jack and the Beanstalk. It might be a media unit, for example, Scarlet. I'm sure your children will be able to tell you all about Scarlet. And a non-fiction text, for example, a newspaper report. Immerse. So the immerse stage can include, but isn't limited to, learning a story by heart, drawing a story map. So that means drawing little pictures to represent each part of the story. They might do drama activities, so they might act out certain parts or do freeze frames of different parts. Roll on the wall. This means that we might draw around a character, so we might have an outline, for example, of Jack from Jack and the Beanstalk. On the inside, they might write what Jack looks like, and on the outside of the template, they might write different things that other people may see about Jack. And writing and roll as well. This is really important for them to be able to step into the shoes of a character and to be able to identify how they might be feeling. Again, for example, with Jack and the Beanstalk, they wrote a diary entry pretending to be Jack. So the second stage is to innovate. So that's using the structure of the text or story that they've learnt, and then they adapt it to write their very own version. And to support this process, we call it a box it up process. So that basically means that each section has its own box and the children come up with different ideas to put in that box. So this box it up plan is basically their plan for their extended text, and it happens over a number of days. Using the class boxed up version of the text, so the teacher will model writing each section with the children, focusing on key vocabulary, appropriate sentence types and punctuation. Children may select these from things like a descriptosaurus that we have around the classroom. It's also a good opportunity to highlight any misconceptions and to model the correct handwriting style. For example, we may look, if children were struggling with apostrophes, for instance, we may purposefully put the apostrophe in the wrong place, or we may leave it out, and then children will then say, oh no, we think we need to put it there. And then there's that really rich discussion about why it's not in the right place. So the final stage of our Innovate process is for children to edit and improve their writing using appropriate year group expectations for support. Now these are the targets that are stuck in the front of their books, and children know that they are highlighted. So for example, if they've got autumn targets and they've got some that are missing, so they're not highlighted, they then know that they need to go back into their writing and edit some of those features to make sure that they are included within their writing. Invent, the third stage and my favourite stage. So children can then extend their understanding of the text through further invention. For example, the next chapter in the story, so what would happen next if the story was to carry on, or putting the character in a completely different situation. We did this with Jack and the Beanstalk, where we invented our very own version of Jack and the Beanstalk and we changed elements of the story. Non-fiction genres can be invented by using them in other areas of the curriculum, for example, diary or newspaper report about a humanities topic. And we recently did that when we were looking at the Egyptians in Autumn 1, and we wrote a newspaper report and we wrote a diary using Howard Carter for inspiration. Grammar and punctuation. So these are taught through early morning work and most importantly through our model writing. We assess the children half-termly on their grammar and punctuation with areas of common misconceptions or areas that children find tricky, and these are addressed throughout the following half-term. So here are some examples of grammar and punctuation questions from our Year 3 assessment. So it might be that they need to choose the right root word to add with their suffix. It might be that they've got a prefix question. Here we've got another example of, tick the correct contraction of did not. So they need to think about where does the apostrophe go and why. And that's also another question that's quite commonly used. And identifying different types of words. So, for example, tick the box to show the adverb in the sentence. So, spelling. So, weekly spelling focus, which is assessed through the words that we send home on a Friday. So, we also have our test on a Friday and new words, and the spelling rule is gone through on a Friday before the children come out of school. These words are based on national curriculum expectations for their year group. They also include cross-curricular or high-frequency words that we think children may need to practice on. And they're practiced in school, and children are shown strategies to support their learning. We have daily spelling sessions taught using the Spelling Shed programme. Activities include revisiting previous spelling rules. They may include a short clip, introducing the rule, breaking the word into syllables, practicing the rule, dictation and testing each other. And we often do Showdown, which is a way that the children can test each other. If you want to know more about Showdown, ask your child. Handwriting. So across the school we have our handwriting scheme, which is a lead and stroke, and children practice joining writing in specific handwriting sessions. At the moment, these are joined with our spelling sessions, but after half term, so for in autumn 2, we will be doing separate handwriting sessions as well as within our spelling sessions. And children see this during modelled writing as well. And of course, they practice their handwriting throughout every lesson that we do. So this is the handwriting scheme. So this is how your children should be forming their letters. If you want to practice with your child their handwriting, we would greatly appreciate that. For example, children often find G's very difficult. They often find it difficult to know where they sit on the line. So things like G's, P's and Y's we're really focusing on at the moment in class. So if you want to support your child, please help them with that. So support at home. So weekly homework tasks are set through Morodo at home, or you may receive a paper copy of the same homework. Spelling practice. So it will either be on paper or you can practice this on a Spelling Shed, but it's really important that these are practiced weekly to reinforce what we are learning at school. Punctuation and grammar activities are set online through Morodo, and again, if you don't have access to Morodo, we send home paper copies. Regular writing practice is great for children. So, for example, really encourage them to read diaries or write diaries, writing things about what they've done at the weekend, thinking about writing for purpose, for example, thank you letters, invitations, all that sort of thing really helps your child. If you have any further questions, please don't hesitate to contact Dilks Academy. As I said at the beginning, my name is Miss Tyler. I'm lead teacher in Year 3. I'm more than happy to answer any questions that you may have, or alternatively direct them to my partner teacher, Mr. Morton. I hope you found this session useful, and again, please don't hesitate to contact me if you've seen anything and a little bit unsure about anything. Okay, thank you very much.